guys. Happy Sunday with Satan. So the Irene witch lady, who really wasn't a witch. I was literally up like almost all night thinking about this. And it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. So I found out where she's buried. So I think I'm gonna leave her when I'm able to fully walk good and maneuver her. I think I'm gonna find, go find that grave and leave her a note. Something nice, something sweet, sentimental. So I found her grave. I found out a lot of information about her, and it's pretty cool. Alright, so order a witch to leave town. So evidently she was in my city first, and then she was forced to move from my town to the next town, and then forced to move from that town. And then she died instantly. So it says because townfolk claimed her witchcraft made many persons ill and hexed. A young girl, Mrs. Irene Ray, above 60 years old, Indian squaw, so she was a Native American, Indian squaw. She has been ordered to leave Rochester, Indiana, and she was arrested. She actually was arrested on charges of what is that? These old clippings. Vagrancy? So, Mrs. Ray agreed to quit the city with her husband after her release from jail. So Indiana has no witchcraft laws. Very strange. But actually we do. People just don't know that. So, her full name was Irene Tedrow Ray. She was born on May 4th of 1876. And then she died at age 62 of November 4th, 1938, in Rochester, Fulton County, Indiana. And then her burial is the Bremen Municipal Cemetery. So that's pretty cool. It's been lots. So this just gives a little more information about her. I'm not going to do the screen because that just screwed everything up, and it made 3 videos, and I didn't want 3 videos. So it says here, Mrs. Irene Ray, aged 62, was instantly killed, and her husband, Louis, what a fancy name, Louis Ray, 65, was seriously injured when they were struck by a car driven by Miss May Kern of Athens at 5:15 o'clock Friday afternoon. The accident occurred 1 mile east of Rochester on Road 14, midway between the One Horse Grocery and the home of the Rays, which in other days was known under the name of the Farm. Strange. So, the accident occurred while Mr. and Mrs. Rays were walking to their home after a shopping trip to Rochester, and Miss Kern, bookkeeper in a local elevator, was on her way to her home in Athens. Witnesses stated that Rays were walking on the south side of the road while traveling east, and were not facing traffic as they should have been under Indiana state law. Okay, but we're walking with the same. So at the time, a blinding rainstorm was in progress, which obstructed Miss Kern's view of the road. So Miss Kern was watching a child riding a bicycle, and was attempting to avoid striking the youngster when the accident occurred. This is very strange, very strange. I wonder what's not told or what's hidden about this. So the first persons on the scene were James Copeland, Simon Bailey, and George Ream, Harry Allison, and Mr. and Mrs. Otto Weimer. They found that Mrs. Ray had been killed instantly and called an ambulance to have Mr. Ray moved to the Woodlawn Hospital. I know where that is. Creepy. So it was found that Mr. Ray's death had been caused by a fractured skull, a severed limb, and other injuries. Mr. Ray suffered a fractured skull. It was found after an examination at the hospital. Wow. So Mr. Ray's condition is considered critical. The doctors believe that he will survive. Up until today, he had not regained consciousness, but spent a restful night. So Miss Kern collapsed after the accident and was taken to her home in Athens. So then she was then placed under the care of a doctor. So they kind of all went a little ooh after this incident. So Dr. Dean Stinson, County Coroner, and Sheriff Lester King made an investigation of the accident and obtained statements from the witnesses. The inquest probably will be held as soon as the exact condition of Mr. Ray has been determined. So, Mr. and Mrs. Ray moved to this city. Wow. So this gives out a lot of information about me. So, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Ray moved to this city, Rochester, from Plymouth in 1933. So they were forced out of this city to go to another one to be forced out. I can only imagine what we would go through at this time. So, alright. So yes, they were moved to this city from Plymouth in 1933. So, Mr. Ray has been on WPA as a laborer most of the time since his arrival in this city. He is a native of Norton, Virginia. So most people from came to Indiana from the south. So there's a lot of backwoods, hoodoo. So there's a lot that's not talked about, and I think that's fascinating. Very fascinating. Alright, so the survivors are the husband, daughter, which obviously they're gone now, Mrs. Martin Carter of the city, a grandson, Rex Cunningham Wabash, brother Joseph Tedrup, Bourbon, and Bourbon is actually 4 or 5 minutes that way from me. So this is very cool and very, very strange. And it makes me wonder, who did I talk to on the board? What was her name? She never gave, for the life of me, I can't remember her name. But she said that she lived in this town and she was killed. But her story was that she was burned. So this could have been another witch prior to this entire incident. This is 132 years later after the Salem witch trials, so okay. And she had 5 half-brothers who reside in Battle Creek, Michigan, and a sister who lives in South Bend. This is all very, very close to home. Very, yeah. So the funeral services will be held from the Foster Funeral Home in West 6th Street at 1 o'clock. I like how they word all this. 1 o'clock, Sunday afternoon, with Reverend James Call of the Church of God officiating. Interment will be made in a cemetery at Bremen. So, this was updated November 5th, 1938. So, her parents, Benjamin Franklin Tedrow, 1834 to 1914. So, there's one person on here, and you can find agrave.com. You can find her. And there's one person on here, Rebecca. I won't say your last name. You left flowers for her. I think that's really sweet. That's really sweet. So I just thought that was amazing. So, wow. It's weird. Alright, now her location of her cemetery. Oh, we have 6 photos of her cemetery, of where she would be buried, I think. Yep, the Bremen Cemetery. So, let's see if this is a picture. I don't know if you guys can see it. Kinda, maybe a little bit. So, alright, let's see if we can find her gravestone. Okay, this is where one of my really good friends, she had died in a car crash too. It was pretty long ago. I was 16, 17, and she was 14, and she passed, and she had her seatbelt on, and it cut her in half, literally just cut her in half, and they had to identify her by her teeth. I love you, wherever you are. So she was a sweetheart. So hopefully I can find the the grave. I know where this grave. Wow, there's some pretty interesting images. So I'm guessing it's one of these, right up front. You guys can't see that too well. They're a little bit better. Yeah, it's not working, but yeah. Wow. Okay, I don't want this picture anymore. Okay. Yeah, we don't get too much. We don't get too much at all. Isn't that just crazy, though? That is so crazy that that actually happened here. In this town. So weird. So weird. So, I don't know. I don't know. Very strange. If you look her up, you will find so much information on her. It's crazy. I mean, if you literally go in and you Google Irene Ray, so much. I mean, so much. Okay, so there was another person that was with her, supposedly in this town, who was a male, who was also a practitioner of what? I don't know. But yeah, I can't find that. Huh. It's crazy. Oh God, don't Google anything that you make a video about because it shows up. Mine does, it's weird. Alright, so here it is. Something. Some kind of paper. Oh, I have to sign up. So no, I'm not going to do that. But yeah. yeah, she was with another man who, I guess, was a practitioner. So here's another little article. Indiana town bans witch. Woman must leave Rochester to LA citizens' witchcraft fears. So it says Rochester, Indiana, May 12th. Unable to find a witchcraft law in Indiana statutes, Fulton County Prosecutor J. Murray and McCarty said today Mrs. Irene Ray, 60 years old, Miss Me Indian, held here on vagrancy charges, was freed after she promised to leave town and allay hex fears of citizens. It's sad. It's sad. So this just shows there's still that ignorance today. I mean, you see it all over the internet. So Mrs. Ray, wife of WPA worker, was placed in jail by Police Chief Paul Whitcomb. Paul Whitcomb. I wonder if he's still alive. I wonder if these people are still alive. Any of them. I'd love to know. So the police head said one family attributed a daughter's serious heart illness to a spell cast by the woman, and a minister was called to the home to read scriptures in an effort to break it. Okay, so it kind of the exorcism-ish, maybe? I mean, is demonic possession even a thing? I don't think so. So, recites method of hexing. Whitcomb said Mrs. Ray claimed hexing powers and told him her favorite method of spinning a spell was to gather hair combings of the person to be hexed, mix them with the vinegar in a bottle, and bury the bottle. The spell was supposed to cause the victim to wither and die. Very traditional, very something that you would find in old-time folk magic. So, the police chief also said that the Ray woman told him she called in a specialist when a really tough hexing case came up. So this is where it gets just stranger. Who is this specialist? I want to know. So, the specialist was said to be able to chew up dimes into bullet-like form, spit them into a board, then pronounce a particularly effective curse. So, who was this man? Who was this man? That's so strange. Huh. Alright. Yeah, I can't find any of the man. So she called in a specialist. Very strange. So yeah, and then she also filed for divorce. Oh, okay, so he chewed tobacco in bed, so she wanted a divorce. That's funny. That's kind of funny, I mean. Whoa. Alright, here we go. Here's more about Miss Irene. So, this is October 25th of 1938. So, chewed tobacco in bed. Wife charges in divorce action. So, Rochester, Indiana, October 25th. Miss Irene Ray, who last spring was accused of hexing her neighbors, today had on file in Fulton Circuit Court a suit for divorce when charges her husband with indecent manners and inhuman treatment. Miss Ray said in the suit that her husband, Louis, often went to bed with a large chew of tobacco and was indiscriminate in getting rid of the tobacco chews. The targets were the floor or wallpaper, she charged. Her husband also choked her and threatened to kill her on several occasions, she said. So last May, Mrs. Ray was arrested when her neighbors charged her. Her neighbors charged that she had the powers of a witch and cast spells over those she didn't like. Sons, I think that's the name. Sony became ill from the hexing, they said. She was released after promising to leave the city. So, wow. That's crazy. So yeah, she got her revenge. A little bit, kinda, maybe. Now we have other stories popping up. Bewitching Tales, The Naked Truth. Very weird, so. Okay, here's more of it, so. Okay, so the Southern Belle of a wife, Pat, never ceased to amaze at how close all of the people who... Wow, this is not cool. Alright, so word was out that William Wright, one of the first few local residents whose projects jingled when he walked, pockets jingled when he walked, was hoping to buy a lot of land near Rochester and turn it into a Boy Scout camp for Twin City urchins. So the final hurdle was the town of Rochester itself. It was hexed. So the villain was Irene Ray, a genuine witch with an evil eye, more malevolent than a cloud full of locusts. So, finally, Chief of Police Paul Whitcomb supervised the departure of the dreaded woman. Prior to that, townspeople refused to walk past Irene's house in broad daylight, let alone at nighttime, where in the past folks gave a wide berth to the weaver of witchcraft spells. Now they sallied forth, brimming with confidence. So, I wonder where she lived. I'd love to know that. So the greatest display of this courage and confidence came from Friday Castle, the plumber. For 4 years, which Irene had hexed his garden so deep that rocks had a hard time growing, but suddenly he appeared downtown and brought seeds for radishes, onions, tomatoes, and you name it. He carried them home whistling. So, old Mrs. Tidnight, who had feared that her granddaughter, Georgia, would never get out from under the evil spell, reported that the girls were looking right smart and cheerful. Close to home, Evelyn Hamilton Grover of Sheridan Road in Chicago balked when her husband took her for a camping weekend in the Calumet region. She flatly refused to mingle with other members of the Lake O' the Woods nudist colony in Valparaiso. Okay. So that's just a little strange. I just wonder where she's buried. I wonder where she's buried. I have no idea. I kind of have a general idea. Huh. Yeah, there's a lot about her. But now I want to know who the man was. Her specialist that she had gone to. So there were actually 8 families who likely disapproved of her lifestyle and the condition of her home. So, okay. Okay, in the spring of 38, officials told the family to leave because people were afraid of her powers. The state attorney ruled that Indiana had no statute covering sorcery, and she returned. Or did she remain? They don't know. So this gets a little confusing. But she was killed on November 4th. That's strange. There's so much in here about her. I mean, just tons. So yeah, the story of witchcraft after Salem. Another. There's actually books on her now. Irene the Witch that switched. Wow. Okay, and then her husband, Charles Ray. Oh, this is DeviantArt. This has nothing to do with her in specifically. So yeah. That was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to have that kind of history here. Very kind of morbid, a little bit. But I still want to know who her specialist was. I think that would be great. Great to find out. I think it'd be great to, I don't know, just go pay respects to her. So, even though she wasn't a witch, or was she? We don't know. So, alright guys, cock talk? A little bit? Maybe? Let's see. Alright. Okay. Scott something. I get you don't like or do kratom. What drugs do you do? I don't do drugs. Cigarettes? Sheila. Ah, it's been forever. Addiction runs in my family. It does mine too on both sides. Alright, Tiffany. Hi, my darling. How are you? How are you? Ryan, it's Tiffany. I just wanted to leave a comment and get back with you about this session that you did for me last year. Oh yes, I did do a session for you last year. I remember that. At the time, I didn't have a full understanding of the comment about my head, the energy, the fragments, etc. I wanted to tell you, I am now on my way to getting a OSDD, DID diagnosis from a therapist. We are uncovering the existence of altars. I have altars too. This reading amazes me more and more now than ever. Ryan Esvik is the real MFN deal? What is MFN? Thank you. What is MFN? Motherfucking... Oh. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't want to be shooed away out of my own town. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that you're getting your help that you need, that you want. Lady Witch. Hi. How are you? Oh my gods, I remember that. That's her. That is her. Yeah, how many years later she pops up? How cool. I feel bad for her and her family, though. I'm so sorry for people. Irene, not all of us are like that. No, we're not. No, we're not. Lady Witch. Victim. Yeah, right. So sad that Irene had to leave her home. I know, I didn't know that she was instantly killed either by walking. So. It's crazy. Okay, Ross Chamings? Chamings. Hi. I'm so sorry this horrible experience happened to you, Ryan. What? Magic gone wrong. Oh, that's over with. Yeah. I tried love magic myself some years ago. It worked in a manner similar to yours. After that, I will never use so-called love magic again. It's not even love magic. It's crazy. It's psychotic magic. Alright, who is this? Boneless Rocker. Yeah, kind of remind me of a boneless, spineless type person. Please call the FDA at... Oh, okay. To tell them to keep Kratom legal and available. I, for one, will be blowing up their phone come Monday morning when they open up. Everyone call, email, pension, signed. Helps this cause. So, if you want to call the FDA and tell them that Kratom is very harmful to us, to your body, it's an opioid, it's not an opiate. You can call them and you can encourage them to ban it at 1-855-543-3784. So, I will be calling Monday to tell them my experience and why I think it should be banned. Thank you. Thank you for their number. I had to do it. Alright, Sarah K. Hi. You're really cool, but this felt dark as fuck. Yeah, it was a little dark. I have my days. My videos that are dark. Who else? Quit telling me this tablespoon of baking soda. I don't know. Okay. Alright, Jen Gemini, my darling, I love you. Kate, I love you. Mystic UFO Pirate, I love you. My darling Monica, I love you. Morgana, hi. Thank you guys for all the amazing comments. It really is amazing. You guys are amazing. But yes, Scott, something, what drugs do you do? None. It's a waste. Why would I do that to myself? That's ridiculous. So, alright guys. I think I'm going to do my little just something for California. Just because you don't like the state doesn't mean that the people there are mean. They don't deserve this, so I'm going to be doing my thing to help as much as I can. So, but yeah. One of these days I will get back on the board and I will try to contact her. If I find her grave, I will take you guys with me. I think that'd be cool. Just for her. It's kind of like just what you said. Whoever said that we're not all like that. Yes. That's what I wanted to do for her. So, alright guys, yeah, so, I'm gonna go. Everybody have a great Sunday with Satan. Make sure you binge watch The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. She is coming back in 2019 for season 2. So, alright guys, I love you all very much, all the way from Venus, all the way back down. And thank you guys for all of your love and everything. So I love you all, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.